And welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Today we have a very special guest for this Moon Colony illustration stream. We are joined by the incredible Peter Mohrbacher. Welcome.
Hey, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Welcome, welcome. Yeah, so going to be a pretty kind of just, casual painting session. I see we've already got a little bit of sketching going on pre-stream.
hmm
So yeah, why don't you take us away? Tell us a little bit about what we're really doing today.
so today I'm working on this monster design
Hmm,
for my RPG.
awesome.
I I'm an indie. For people who don't know me that well, I'm an indie artist. These days, I think that actually means something. Back in the day, they didn't have a name for what I was. I was just unemployed. But these days, I think people know indies like you're self-employed. You make content for yourself. You
Yeah.
like sell merch. You make content. It's sort of like artist as content creator is a little bit better known as a job. I've been doing it for I think 12 years.
Oh wow.
Like
Yeah.
I've been independent for a really long time. I do a project called Angelarium.
Hmm.
And during that time, I got like a ton of requests over and over again, people telling me that they used my designs as part of their D&D games,
Hmm.
and I kept meaning to make something for it. And the last year or so, I have been working on building out a bunch of doing a world building project to sort
Hmm.
of expand Angelarium into like an RPG world, and I'm getting stats written, and I'm writing up
Ooh,
like a whole world guide, and
that's
I'm
awesome.
building a bestiary. And as that continues to expand, my job gets more and more demanding as need to keep making art and writing.
Mm.
And this is the first monster design I've been doing for the bestiary side of things. So I've written up a bunch of briefs. I'm working with a writer collaborator who had pitched me a bunch of ideas, and then I wrote a bunch of briefs of different monsters that were themed to different concepts,
Hmm.
and they're not explicitly called out like what those concepts are. But I always use that as part of my creative process to help me figure out like what the creative intent
Mm.
of the uh, of the work is, so I
Hmm.
can like judge whether or not I'm doing a good job at it. And so I have this idea of this specific emotion that I want to evoke with this monster design. And I have a little bit of a written brief already written up. And then before we did the stream today, I had just worked this sketch up here in my ancient version of Photoshop. Um, just working on
Oh, that's neat.
working on a really quick sketch over on the Cintiq because I have a
Mm.
way easier time drawing on the screen. Um, and then doing a little quick block out.
Heck yeah.
And the idea of this is it's not going to be a full illustration. It's going to be a spot illustration for the book. So it's a vignette, which means that it's going to have like, it's going to be slotted onto a page with
Hmm.
an empty background. It's going to be a
Mm.
cutout with an odd shape. The text is going to wrap around. That's how they typically do these things.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Like kind of
so
like
I've
Player's
tried
Handbook, all
out.
that. Hmm.
Yes, exactly. So if you've seen a RPG guide, you know exactly what I mean. I'm hoping that's going to make this really easy. So far, I've been having a blast with it. It's been going smoothly. I'm trying out a few little ideas on like I had this vision in my head for what this weird cone-shaped head was going to be,
Hmm.
and I keep experimenting with different variations on it, seeing if I can get like it to feel like it feels like in my imagination. But
Hmm.
I'm never quite sure if that's a real feeling or if that is just a vibe that happens.
Yeah.
So I've got now that I've got a rough like value block out for this guy. I've also been pulling in. I can bring this over. My big pile of reference I pulled from Pinterest. Some of this is
Hmm.
from prior um, instances where I would need to like paint crows. So I've got some crow reference. This is a
Harpy
harpy
Eagle. Oh
owl,
wow. Oh, eagle.
a
Oh,
harpy eagle.
owl. Hmm.
Is it an owl or an eagle? I think it
I think
looks
they're
more like an
eagles.
eagle
Yeah.
than an owl.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's funny. They look
trying
like
to filter out
people
the
in suits. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a lot of aura.
Mm.
So I really thought, I was looking for a bird that felt really big because this guy's supposed to feel big. So I'm trying to figure out like how big are the feathers on a big bird.
Hmm.
You know, is there anything particular about the proportions that make them feel big at a distance? Um, and so I'm trying to answer a lot of those questions as I'm early on in the sketch. And then I found this guy. I don't know what kind of bird this is,
Oh,
but
wow.
there's this interesting thing where it's got this sort of low slung wing where the
Mm.
upper part of the wing is like especially long. So instead of the
An
upper part
osprey.
of the wing like kind of being up at the shoulder here,
Hmm.
even with the shoulder, it kind of wraps low, and it gives this almost like more human like arm look, like a person in a
Mm.
costume. We
Yeah.
have this shoulder that's defined, and the wing can sling a little lower. And I thought that's actually kind of a cool feeling. Like
Hmm.
instead of bringing the wing right up to like the side of the head here, being able to might even exaggerate this more, swinging it lower like this, I think is a cool thing for the silhouette. So I'm trying to pick together different aspects of these references to create this because I'm not really an expert when it comes to drawing or painting birds. I don't even do a lot of monster designs, but I'm still using the same. You can see here what I mean about the way these wings sling like way lower. It's got
Hmm.
an interesting construction to it. Um, you know, this is the same like creative techniques I use when I'm painting anything.
Hmm.
I'm trying to answer questions early on related to the construction, like the broad strokes of whatever I'm building. I'm trying to build from themes, and you know, I'm trying to like make a lot of these fiddly choices as early as possible before I get into anything that involves a ton of rendering or lighting.
Mm.
And you know, it's a pretty universal process. So I'm hoping that we're going to end up with a really good result at the end. This thing's going to feel pretty intimidating, monstrous, and big and cool looking, and it's going to make teenage boys stare at it and go, "Oh, that's badass." Sort of the ultimate goal here for this.
Yeah, knowing the
Um,
demographics. Always good.
yeah, yeah. I'm basically just speaking for myself.
Hmm.
Oh, somebody says it's an osprey. Okay, great.
Yeah.
I have heard of ospreys. I didn't know that ospreys had the coolest wings of all the bird predators. They've also got big,
Mm.
chunky claws for like the size of their bodies. I'm
Yeah.
noticing that a lot of these really threatening birds, they've got big feet on them, big,
Mm.
chunkier feet. So my instinct is to draw much slimmer looking feet,
Hmm.
um, but I ended up chunking them up after checking out the reference.
Yeah. I mean, you look at like a cassowary with their kind of talons in proportion to their body. It's like these gigantic, 5-inch long raptor claws. So, yeah, a lot of cool
I'm
references out there.
well, let me pull up Pinterest and let's look at cassowary. So, anybody who's got any questions, if you guys know who I am and you have any questions about my art process or anything, you know, feel free to ask. I'm available in the chat here for you.
Awesome. Yeah, feel free to
Cassowary.
ask away. Yeah, they're such fascinating birds. I love a good cassowary. They're
Oh yeah.
basically like dinosaurs if you think about it. Like you can definitely see the evolutionary process. Uh,
Oh, this kind of organic structure here on the
yeah.
crest is exactly the sort of thing I love to paint.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and it's like they look gigantic, but like
Mm.
what? There's got to be something specific about the broad strokes, the proportions that make them feel as big as they do.
Mm.
I mean, some of it I think is like context clues. You know, you
I,
can sort of get the size of the environment, the eye line. You know, the photographer's probably doesn't look like they're crawling on the ground here. The eye line's up
mm.
pretty high. It's one of the things that makes it, I think, kind of tough to tell how big one bird is from another when you look
Yeah.
at like them when they're up in a branch. You don't get this sense of like how high the camera is supposed to be.
Hmm.
Oftentimes, it's being shot from underneath, and it messes with the overall sense of scale a little bit.
Mm.
So that's one of the big challenges coming into this is that these guys are supposed to be big, and I'm not going to have like a little guy standing next to him.
Yeah, man for reference.
Yeah, it's a classic trick, works every time. But why is my speaking of tricks? There we go.
Mm.
Yeah, I imagine them
Keratin.
being, I think, pretty big.
Raccoon
No,
says,
we
fun
got our guy
fact,
here.
the crest of a cassowary is layers of skin or keratin. It's like the same kind of materials like nails and horns and all that. Makes sense.
I would have guessed keratin. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm imagining them be what these things are big enough to eat a person whole. Is sort of what
Naturally.
I'm going for. Uh, naturally.
Of course.
One of the ideas that I had was like the easy way to like put them on a perch is to create like a rocky outcrop.
Mm.
And I can do a little bit of scale from like the size of any plant matter that's on these rocks.
Mm.
But the high effort version of this is that I create a humanoid statue
Mm.
that's perched on top of like a, decrepit statue. And
That's
that
fun.
statue is presumed to be at human size or larger.
Mm.
And if it's like a big looking statue, then and this guy's like perched on top of it and dominating it, it would definitely look really big.
Yeah.
But that requires me to then design a statue guy in addition to designing the monster.
Yeah.
And I've got a bunch of these things I need to do. So I'm trying to also be a manager to myself and
Mhm.
not let the scope of this project get completely out of hand.
Yeah. Don't want to Star Citizen yourself into never finishing, right?
Oh, I mean, it's very easy to do.
Mm.
Very easy. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. This is a hard light layer.
We got a few questions already.
Yeah, please hit me with it.
Yeah. So for this bird creature, this is from Falconin, which is very appropriate. Do you think about how they hunt or where they live in their way of life?
No.
Hmm.
The what I'm creating here is not a bird, it's a monster.
Okay.
This thing is not biological, it's existential.
Oh, interesting.
So it's like there is a certain like school of thought that like in order to create really great monster designs, any kind of cryptozoology, you need to be able to think about it as like as an organism.
Hmm.
And like where do they breed, where do they hunt, where do they go to sleep, like how do they hunt in packs, do they like are they solo predators, and these things can inform a lot of choices, presuming you're trying to create cryptozoology.
Hmm.
But like there's a whole breed of monsters, and I think when we're doing in a D&D like setting,
Sure.
if the monsters are magical in nature and they are intended to evoke certain existential ideas or fantasies,
Hmm.
then being too concerned with the logistics of them moves them away
Hmm.
from their intended goal. Like, no one's going to ask what the breeding habits of a gelatinous cube are, right? Like, there's some D&D content has like monsters that are, or monstrous races that are like very fleshed out in terms of their culture and
Hmm.
their identity. While other ones, they are clearly just like they're there because they represent a portion of the human experience
Hmm.
um, through mythology.
Okay.
And so, what I'm creating largely is something that is much more mythological than practical, or at least that's what I'm going for. And so that's why he's got like a kind of geometrically shaped head.
Hmm.
And one of the
Yeah.
options I was exploring was giving him like a crest, but making it like perfectly geometric as well, and bring this
Ooh.
idea of when there are these sort of angelically created monsters,
Hmm.
that they have this unnatural quality to them that makes them a little bit a little man-made looking.
Yeah.
So there's a certain like man-made element to these because they're supposed to emerge from like the human subconscious and not from like a a natural origin.
Hmm.
And so having them seem a little bit artificial in ways is like a key part of what I'm trying to achieve with each one of them. So this is an option. I'm going to keep this on a separate layer.
Cool. Uh, I guess that kind of feeds into a question of like, it's birds for skill harder when the subject is a bird, which it's not actually a bird. So there you go.
Yeah,
Um, uh,
I could put a bird. I could put some. If this were an illustration, I could put in some little birds for
mm,
scale. But as a vignette, as a spot illustration,
yeah.
maybe not. Um, I've got a square canvas here.
Hmm.
Square is a weird proportion to be painting at.
Yeah.
I originally had it horizontal, and then I ran out of vertical room, and then I swapped it, and I ran out of horizontal room. I realized that for a spot illustration, it needs to kind of be able to meander around a square space.
Hmm.
So I'm not really worried about a lot of the same concerns I have with composition.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really more interested in creating a sense of personality through the silhouette,
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that it hits the right creative goals.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not going to really it's it could I could chop this out and put a background behind it, but I don't. That's not its destiny, I don't think.
Awesome. We got a question from our resident animator Bobby D. For Peter,
Yeah.
you mentioned scope creep, even when you're your own client working on personal projects. What tips would you give to your past self to become a better client to yourself when you work on personal projects?
Oh my God. Better client to yourself.
Bit existential now. All right.
Um, I a better client to yourself. I'm a terrible client to myself. I My best work is always come at a moment when I'm not expecting it.
Hmm.
Like every time I try to strategize too much about how to do any of this, I feel like I'm running a real serious risk. Like I I'm more likely to create my worst work when I'm intellectualizing it.
Yeah.
And so trying to put on the manager hat, like I when I try to set myself up, like manage the environment that I'm in, and then when I'm in it, I try to just do whatever seems right at the moment
Hmm.
and not second guess myself too much. Because the more I attempt to second guess and intellectualize it, the like worse the product is going to be, almost
Yeah.
universally.
Yeah. I felt that too. Like, I think some of the best work is when you're kind of free to experiment and not like kind of bound by that perfectionism of, you know, I need to make it a certain way, and if it's not this way, then I can't do it. Um,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, having a pre too strong of a preconception, I think, really messes with the potential of the work.
hmm. So the answer is don't be a picky client.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, if you're thinking of yourself as the manager, yeah, you should be less picky. And
Hmm.
then if as the contractor, that you should be a nightmare to yourself. You should be like, no, no, no. I really felt like it should be like this.
Hmm.
Ignoring the brief, ignoring like what the intended stated goal of the project is. I think that by allowing yourself to be a kind of nightmare um, client or vendor or whatever,
Hmm.
you end up more likely to put yourself in a position of success.
Interesting. Got to kind of disco Elysium yourself into having all these different voices in your head.
I own that I've owned that on Steam for years. I have to play it one of these days. It's
You
in my
have?
like
Oh
embarrassing
my
backlog.
goodness. You got to play it,
I
man.
know
It's so good. Um,
um, on a technical side. I did this in black and white. I always start in black and white, and then I've got a gradient map up here just to give it a little bit of temperature
hmm,
separation.
hmm,
This is one of my favorite gradients.
hmm.
It's part of my custom like arrangement of gradients that's for free to download on my Gumroad if anybody wants
That's
to like
cool.
draft off of this.
Heck yeah.
Um, I can flip through these really quick to get like different rough color palettes.
Oh.
But my favorite one is this one, just because it adds a little bit of temperature separation without getting in the way too much.
Hmm.
So I put this on soft light and I get a little bit of like warm versus cool. For something that's monochrome, it starts to feel a little bit more like it's in color even without adding any local color. So I like that.
That's
And then
awesome.
I am going to add a little local color to separate like the tone on the rock from the bird.
Heck yeah. We got a question from Robert Schneider Art. Do all questions have to be painting relating towards Peter? That's up to
No,
you.
you can ask me about my business. You can ask me about my video game backlog. Whatever you want to know. I'm here for you.
Well, what's it like working, like running your own business as a freelance illustrator or like an independent,
What
I
is it
guess?
like?
Yeah. Yeah. Tell us everything.
Uh, I don't know why I chose this life.
Hmm.
It's a completely weird job. Um, Sometimes it's really stressful. Like I
Hmm.
have like real breakdown stress moments, and other times I couldn't imagine doing it any other way.
Hmm.
I I I eat all my successes and I eat all my failures.
Hmm.
When I make a really dumb choice, I can be out a lot of money. And when I like and I can spend like months or even like years working on a project in bad faith that I ultimately feel like I never should have done in the first place, you know.
Mm.
Um, but sometimes I'm making exactly the work that I want, and I'm getting paid more than any client would ever pay me for it. It's like the best of all worlds. So it's sometimes terrible, and sometimes it's the best. Um, but I do it because it's what suits me. I,
Mm.
I feel like I have a series of preferences and soft skills that have kind of run me down this path.
Hmm.
Um, and so I it's become more aspirational in recent years to be an indie because there's a lot of content creators who are like showing off their income and you know getting to have creative freedom, and we see a shrinking industry as far as like film and games,
Yeah.
lots of layoffs and stuff. But I used to when I was first into getting into it, I used to recommend it to everybody. I used to yell at them like that they have to like start selling their own stuff and really take ownership over their work. And I realized that I mean that's just annoying and dumb. And you know, I was wrong to like try to foist this on people.
Mm.
And these days I'm a little bit the opposite way where I tell people like don't do this. Like
Mm.
it's a ridiculous job. It's almost guaranteed to fail. There's it's really it requires doing a lot of things that most artists do not want to do.
Hmm.
The business side of things, it very much runs a counter to the artist's instincts.
Mm.
And so I think that for most people, it's a terrible job. But it just happens to be right for me. And I got really lucky that I kind of fell down this path when I did.
Mm. That's interesting. Yeah, I think you kind of have to find out what works for you, and being able to have ownership over your successes and failures. It's almost like you're playing Dark Souls versus like raiding in WoW. It's like there's that you're kind of you are responsible. You're in the driver's seat for everything that happens, and you get what you put in, right? So,
Yeah. I mean,
um,
I love Dark Souls. So I want to compare everything to Dark Souls.
hey, me too.
So I do feel that like it does feel a little bit like the Dark Souls of like, sometimes a skeleton just pops out from behind a
Yeah,
corner
just
and
hits
just
you in the
fucking
face.
ruins you while you're on like a run back to your souls. Like, and you have no choice but to just sigh deeply and continue to play
Mm.
because otherwise, like, you're going to go hollow.
Yeah, don't go hollow.
Don't go hollow.
Don't give up, skeleton. um,
So,
got another one from Rob Schneider. I saw
mm,
that you became the spokesperson for Spiel, the German board game convention. How did how
yes.
did this happen? And what is your job as their spokesperson?
Um, what is my job as their spokesperson? God, I wish I knew that. I do not fully know what I'm in for.
Cool.
Um, so
That's
the
awesome.
story of this.
Hmm.
Um, I went to Dokumi last year. I'm going to be back at Dokumi again this year. It was my first international convention, and I had a blast.
Hmm.
Like it was a great show, business wise, but I also just like it was amazing spending some time in Europe. It was great. Like the size and scope of the convention was incredible. I was
Hmm.
overwhelmed by it. And I met a guy who owns a printing company there, who was one of these guys who used my work for his D&D campaign for years. And
Oh,
so he had
wow.
this tremendous connection to my work. I had no idea.
Hmm.
And his printing company does all the promotion for Spiel. Like, and they do all the
Hmm.
printing for Spiel. Like all their promotional material gets printed by his printing company. And so I was like, hey, I'd love to go. He's like, are you going to be going to any more of these? I was like, well, I really need to go to Spiel one of these years. It's the biggest board gaming event in the world. And so he goes, oh, well, wait here. I'll be right back. And he
Oh.
goes and he grabs the owner of Spiel and brings her over to my
Oh
table,
my
or
goodness.
like the
Wow.
manager, and was like, and she's like, we have this ambassador program. And I was like, oh, do you want me to like do some illustration of like your ambassador for next year? And she's like, no. Like, we want you to be on the billboards for the show.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, why? Why? Like, I don't even like really show my face on the internet very much these days. I'm not known for like what I look like. So the idea that I'm like, it's not my art, it's me, my face is like the subject of this idea.
Oh yeah. Wow.
It's not something that I'm very comfortable with, and it's not something I aspire to do, but it's such a weird idea.
Hmm.
I felt like I had to say yes to it because it was an opportunity to work with this show that's like an incredible event. And it was, it was like such a weird idea. Like, feel like a fool for saying no to it. So now I'm going to have my face on a bunch of billboards all around Germany
Yeah, I can
this
see like
year.
the splash art. You got like a little crow kind of coming off your shoulder, and
Yeah, yeah. So like, they were asking me like, uh, okay, so we should have you at an easel
hmm.
with paints. And I was like, I don't actually use an easel with paints. And they're like, well, what do you do? I'm like, well, I sit in a concrete bunker with a computer and like a little tablet. They're like, we'll figure something out. In the end, it was like the thing we figured out was that I was going to do up a bunch of different versions of myself with like painted additions on top of it.
Hmm.
Um, because being a digital artist, there isn't a lot of accoutrement.
Yeah.
You know,
You got like the pen, and
um,
that's it.
yeah, you got this thing, and it's like it's like a yeah. So, and there's not like a lot of cultural garb or anything.
Hmm.
They
No
had
robes or
like
anything.
authors uh, uh, and cosplayers and stuff, and they had them dressed up in these big fancy costumes. It's like, I don't have any costumes. They're like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So then it's turned into I did several costumed versions of myself, as well as multiple different familiars.
Hmm.
And I think they're just going to go with the crow that took me 20 minutes to paint off a reference and a quick photo study of myself together. I don't know if they're going to use the other stuff for other promotional material.
Hmm.
Um, it was such a weird project painting myself
Hmm.
and like clothing myself in costume.
Oh, did you paint this? I thought this was like a photo.
I painted.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
no, the photo's me in like a black t-shirt because I just own 10 black t-shirts.
Same. Hey, me too.
Yeah. It's the official artist uniform. I was like,
Absolutely.
if they're like, I'm like, if there's a costume for artists, it's a black t-shirt.
Hell yeah.
Um, and they're like, okay, great, great. Well, we'll have you in your black t-shirt. And then I was like, I don't don't know how this is gonna work. So I was very anxious about wanting to provide a lot of options and do a lot of costume work to try to make
Mhm.
this all make sense.
Mm.
Um, and it still doesn't make sense to me. I don't know how to be a spokesperson. I'm going to go there with the most enthusiasm
Mm.
and friendly candor I've ever produced for anything. I want to do right by this whole situation. I
Yeah.
do not understand it. Um, uh, and like I'm gonna get to see him when I'm over there in Dokumi later this month to come back, and I'm gonna be seeing him again and probably have some questions. We got to work out some logistics and stuff. But
Awesome.
yeah, that's the whole spiel thing.
That's the spiel?
I That's the spiel for spiel. I'm really thinking about doing a video on it. I've been getting into doing a little bit more YouTube
Mm.
to explain like the kind of weirdness of this because it is one of the weirdest situations I've ever found myself in. Especially after like spending several years not showing like not face camming at all. Like
Yeah.
to basically have spiel. I thought it'd be funny to. I had this idea where I was going to expressly never show my face for
Mm.
like a couple of years, and then have the they have a face reveal video, which doesn't would be a joke. 'Cause I mean, I've already spent a
Yeah.
lot of time on the internet on camera, but do a face reveal video where it's me standing in front of a billboard of myself. Um,
That's a big flex. You know, a lot of aura farming
it, it'd
from
be
doing that.
it'd be funny. I thought it would be really funny. I was gonna do my vision was that I was gonna do the face reveal that Dream did with the paper plate, pull the paper plate aside. Then when you realize that like I pull the paper plate aside and it's just behind me in the shot the whole time was a photo of me. Like do it in front of the billboard and just realize it's like the same guy on the billboard.
That's really funny.
I thought that was a funny idea, but then it was like I got roped into doing a review video for XP Pen,
Mm.
and I decided to just face cam it anyway. So I'm like, whatever. I'm not going to hassle myself to like make the whole process of
Yeah.
face revealing harder. The Spiel thing is already difficult enough. I don't need to make it any weirder than it needs to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's way too long of a story that has nothing to do with art.
No, I know the feeling. I had a whole face reveal thing with Moon Colony because I just use the crow avatar, right? It's my thing for everything, and the black T-shirts. Raccoon has a great observation that digital artists, as a uniform, have the one slightly fingerless glove. That's true. You have this, you know?
That is true. I should have worn the glove. I
Yeah.
think I've got a few kicking around here somewhere. I usually don't wear one because I don't
Really?
usually use my Cintiq very much.
Oh, I see.
I'm rocking the Intuos lifestyle. I've been
Cool.
Intuos first for just about everything, and it's built up it's been seasoned with a layer of hand oil, so it's most comfortable for me to just
It's all
raw dog
slippery
it.
now, yeah.
Yeah.
We got a question
Probably
from
not appealing content.
from Gailu Art. Question for Peter: how do you come up
Please.
with ideas for your characters, especially with Angelarium?
Yeah, I touched on this a little bit at the beginning of the stream. The thing I feel like I have to do every time is start with like a concept.
Mm-hmm.
It has to the illustration or design. They have to represent some idea.
Mm.
So it's like if it's the Angel of Rain, I'm going to think about my associations with rain.
Mm.
Which sounds obvious, but I find this actually is kind of insightful for some people. You think like, I need to make it cool. I need to make it badass. I need like people think about the impression they want the work to make as a starting point.
Mm.
But I found that that's typically counterproductive. What I prefer to do instead is think about what what the theme of the work is. And then that informs me on you know, what kind of symbols and other and moods I'm trying to incorporate into this work. So if I'm thinking about the Angel of Rain, I'm going to be thinking about memories and associations I have with rain.
Mm.
And I'll just write them down, just like 1 or 2 word little things, and just put them in a list and brainstorm my way through my associations. I don't know why I'm working under the gradient map. It makes it easier up here. And then I use that as like a map for determining whether or not like the stuff I draw matches with my intent. Like I want to always be pulling back towards, is this representative of the intent of the work? If this is supposed to represent the rain, does it feel like the rain to me when I look at it?
Mm.
And if the answer is no, then I can make changes. And if the answer is yes, then I know I'm on the right track. If I'm trying to guide myself off of whether or not I think the work is cool or badass or whatever, I'm never going to be satisfied with it, and I'm never going to be able to make distinct choices.
Mm.
The goal of setting these themes early on is to not only spark ideas, but to allow myself a method of evaluating my choices. As I like do random stuff on like choosing whether I'm choosing colors or doodling on something or trying out an idea. I don't to be able to judge whether or not it's working out. I need to be able to like have a criteria to judge it against.
Mm.
And I find that when people are trying to only judge it on whether or not they feel like it's cool or it's finished or some sort of arbitrary broad definition, they find themselves never able to settle on anything and getting stuck a lot. I find that like starting from these themes, when it works, it works really easily.
Hmm.
Part of the reason I got into the whole Angelarium thing was because I discovered that I just had a really, really easy time like thinking about like, okay, what's the angel of dust going to be? And then
Yeah.
just doodling something, being like, oh, that's cool. And I discovered that there was this shortcut to being able to make cool drawings where all I needed to do was like pick what the drawing was going to be about before I started drawing it.
Hmm.
Instead of being like, okay, draw the most badass thing ever and like try to like project this feeling of what I want the thing to feel like at the screen. It just it felt like this incredible shortcut to be able to just make the work about something instead. And
Yeah.
over time, I've really felt like this is how all great mythology is built. Also, is that it's supposed to be representative of an experience,
Hmm.
not necessarily just supposed to be some weird thing. I think metaphorical work is powerful, and I think it connects with people. So it's a process that I like. I hold very dear, and I try to make sure that everything I'm doing, whether it's like writing or world building or whatever, still draws from the same creative process because it's been the well of all of my successes up till now.
Hmm. Awesome. Yeah. I'm looking at the Angel of Rain that you kind of designed, and like there's like a poem on the website of um, like kind of what it represents and like the evocative feelings. That's really neat.
Yeah, I found that like yeah, when I was first starting off, I was also doing like a little piece of poetry for every single
Hmm.
new character I did, and I'm not a I'm not good at writing poetry at all, but it was I think it helped illustrate the idea that there was some intention behind everything that was going onto the page.
Hmm. I mean, it's a pretty good poem. Like, "O lonely fountain, bless us mortals that dwell beneath you. Let our gratefulness abate your sadness. Let our prayers reach you, lonely Matriel." That's pretty cool. I like it.
I had somebody who owned like a rain barrel company license that from me once. They're like,
What?
"Can we license your poem?" I was like, "That's the first and only time it's happened." And I was like, "Sure, whatever you want to pay. Like,
A rain barrel
I will
company?
license you the use of this poem for the sale of rain barrels." I think I got $50 or something.
Man's out here doing side quests. My goodness. Got a question from Iodoodle. Question for Peter. As someone with a Cintiq and an Intuos, what draws you more to using the screenless Intuos more?
Um, so there's a couple of reasons. I think the ergonomics are a big part of it. I
Yeah.
feel like if I'm tucking in to a long painting session, I'm trying to get in the zone. I want to zone out and just focus on my rendering.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of like maintaining of posture that goes into using a
Yeah.
Cintiq for long sessions.
Yeah.
But with the Intuos, it's like really easy to just like put on a movie on a second monitor or like open up a chat on Discord or whatever
Mm-hmm.
and just sort of like zone it and just you just moving your fingers and like my left hand is on the keyboard and my right hand's on the tablet and
Mm-hmm.
just I have a smaller tablet so I don't even have to make very big motions,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm able to just sort of get comfortable and just zone in, and it feels great. um, and then I also feel like getting my hand out of the way helps give me more context for the screen.
Mm.
Like I don't have a problem figuring out where my cursor is because I usually have a pretty big cursor because I use
Mm-hmm.
size flow brushes,
Mm.
and so I can see where it's dancing around. I feel like I have an easier time seeing where I'm moving around the canvas with this little cursor than like with my whole ass hand, blocking
Yeah,
everything.
in the way.
Um, so I just also some of it is just muscle memory. I mean,
Yeah.
I learned to paint on a Intuos years before I ever got a Cintiq,
Mm.
and so I just have way more years of experience with it. But I recommend it for everybody for painting specifically to just try out working on a just a pen tablet, no screen.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who's just getting into art, who's like in their first couple of years, I just tell them don't worry about screen tablets. You're not missing out on much. I think they're really good for concepting.
Hmm.
If you have an all digital workflow, like I'm demonstrating here, where this was drawn digitally and now it's being painted digitally, it is easier to draw on a screen, especially a large one, um, because there's something about like the hand movements that are like when they're magnified on the little on a little pen tablet, like I'm
Mm.
painting on. It is more difficult to draw. I have friends that have like like the micro like 4 by 6 inch tablets that do all their drawing on that.
Oh
It's
wow.
possible to get great at that if that's what you do. Um, but I find it easier to just draw on paper and then scan it and paint over it. And if I'm going to keep it all digital, I bought the Cintiq so I'd have an option to be able to quickly draw stuff. If I was doing concept art or like trying to do a spot illustration, I rarely use it. Um, when I was reviewing this like XP Pen tablet, I was like kind of savaging it because I just don't have like room in my life for like a big tablet. Certainly
Yeah.
not two of them.
Yeah.
This getting this thing in here on the big robot arm and trying to latch it down to the desk, it's a whole operation. I don't want to like take this thing off because I don't trust myself to like mount it and dismount it safely.
Mm.
It's such a beast.
Yeah,
Um,
I know a few people struggle like maintaining the space needed for like a giant tablet, in addition to what they have. Um, and yeah, it's a good point that like a lot of beginners will be like, I need my $2,000 Cintiq with a screen, it's
yeah,
gigantic. It's like, well, I mean, I started on a Wacom Bamboo, like a tiny old
right.
tablet. Um, and honestly, yeah, it's more ergonomic. I find it a lot easier to like sustain that kind of, the rhythm. Um, we actually have a
I also find that like the tablets these days have gotten better. Like
hmm,
the Huion Inspiroys, you can get one that's the same size work area as I have with better pressure sensitivity for $50.
wow.
When I was first shopping for tablets back in like when we were hunting dinosaur eggs, whatever. I'm pretty old.
Yeah,
It was even in like 2002 money. It was like 300 $600 for like a just a pen tablet. Like if
my
you want to get a
goodness.
nice big one. They were pricey to get into. Like when I was learning to paint, I was learning to paint on some Korean off-brand, I think, called Ape Tech. It doesn't
Hmm.
exist anymore.
Okay, interesting.
AIP, not APE.
Sure.
And Ape Tech had a battery in the pen. So I got this habit, I got this tick where I'd make a mark, it didn't work right. I'd like shake it.
Hmm.
There's no batteries in these things anymore. But I bought that one because it was $100, and that was the cheapest I'd ever seen a nice big tablet before. And so I learned to paint on that thing. And then when I graduated from college, I treated myself and I got a nice Intuos.
Hmm.
But nowadays, I mean, kids these days, they get to learn on an Inspiroy for $50. You get
Insane.
something that I swear is just as good as the one that I bought 15 years ago.
Hmm.
I don't think I've changed the nib on it even
Wow. My
because they
goodness.
they have it's got a really slick surface. So like I've got the container full of the nibs. I don't think I've ever changed one out.
Hmm.
The I think I hear that the newer tablets they chew them up a little bit more, so you actually need to change the nibs. But
Yeah.
to be able to like get everything you need to do professional quality digital painting for $50, I think it makes digital painting the cheapest hobby ever.
True.
I think it's the only affordable hobby left in this economy. I
Yeah.
recommend it to everybody. If people are even a little bit interested in art, I'm like, go buy a tablet. It doesn't matter if you only use it once. It'll cost you the same amount as like taking your girl out for dinner.
Yeah, it's so accessible. It's awesome. And speaking of accessibility, this actually isn't related. But Q for Peter, do you have any tips for
Yeah.
monetizing your work, and how do you balance making original work that helps build your audience with client work that pays the bills?
Oh, I don't pay the bills with client work.
Hmm.
I um I do freelance every once in a while. Like I did like a splash screen for WoW back when they were doing the Shadowlands
Yeah, the
expansion.
Arbiter. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And every once in a while I'll take a gig. Like I did one last year, but it was like weird circumstances where they were it was a merchandise company that I wanted to get them to. I wanted to be able to sell the merchandise myself too. So I was like doing the commission for them, getting paid for it, but I was also going to get a bunch. I was buying a bunch of inventory from them,
Hmm.
because I make all my money off of web sales.
Yeah.
I make my money off of selling stuff in my web store, and that's been my primary income like for a decade.
Wow.
Um, there's also Patreon money, which is incredible. Anybody who has ever backed me on Patreon is a hero. It's like been my foundational income.
Hmm.
And then I also have done conventions on and off for 20 years, and that has been really great too. I took a break from them over the last few years. Now I'm kind of back into them again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can make a full time, like the content creators who talk about this stuff, like they're telling the truth. You really can make a full time living off of making your own work and then selling it at shows and selling it online. Uh, Not everybody who's trying to do it does it. I know a number of people that's like this is their only job,
Mm-hmm.
paying exactly what they want every day, and then sell it directly to their audience. And you know, many of them are homeowners. They've over the years been smart with their business, smart with their personal finances, and they're in the middle class in the same way that many of the top most employed freelancers are.
Wow.
Um, so it is a real career path. It's just I don't know how much room there is. I mean, I think there's like an infinite amount of room, honestly. I think like, but there's digital art is like such um, a niche hobby
Mm.
that I don't know how big of a market there is for being able to sell it as like. I think you have to do really well with your marketing
Mm.
to be able to get to the point where it's a full time income.
Yeah. Yeah, like the thing you mentioned before that artists tend to not have the super like crazy business acumen of, marketing and,
No, kind of
just
the opposite, actually.
yeah.
That a lot of the things that make artists good at what they do also make them bad at business.
Hmm.
Like instincts that are good, healthy, positive instincts that like define a lot of artists also make it undercut their ability to make a living.
Interesting.
Um,
How so?
and so I don't want to frame it as a failure. It really is, I think, a kind of personality quirk that cuts two ways.
Hmm.
And so when I see most people kind of working against their business interests as an artist, I see it as being like them being a good artist. um, it is you kind of have to be two people to be a business owner and an artist at the same time. I think
Yeah. What do you find to be like the biggest kind of pitfalls people fall into? Like as artists who are good at art but not maybe good at business.
good at art maybe. Well, they the one of the main things that makes a business work is just marketing.
Hmm.
Like you have to be able to draw attention to your work.
Mm.
And I think that if you are making artwork for the purpose of garnering attention, you're acting in bad faith, and you're likely to have people recognize that bad faith and ignore you.
Mm.
People hate seeing something that's done cynically. They don't
Yeah.
want to see cynicism in art. They don't want somebody to just make a fan art because they think that thing is popular.
Hmm.
So if you try to act in a way that you think is good for business,
Hmm.
you are likely going to be putting off potential fans.
Hmm.
Um, you have to create selfishly.
Mm.
You have to make exactly what you want the way you want to make it to make the best work, and that like it runs counter to marketing.
Yeah.
It's also good for marketing, but it requires you to like ignore it during the time while you're making it.
Mm.
You kind of have to like turn around and walk backwards into it.
Yeah. It makes me think of like how people who get cult followings, usually the way they do it is they put something into the world that is what they've always wanted to see. and
Yeah.
they get kind of like that niche audience of people who, have always wanted to see the same thing, like the same interests, same kind of tastes.
Right.
And I think that's why people can find success in those niches, is because, if you're not trying to appeal to like the mass media, like the kind of generic, like common denominator of art, which is, think
Yeah.
like,
Mr. Beast of art.
yeah, it's like if you're trying to just do what you like and you put that out there, you find other people who kind of want the same thing. And it's not fake. It's not like this commercialized, commoditized, operation.
But so like that's the best thing for the art is to create without concern for the needs of an audience, but to do so selfishly, intuitively, to create something that is genuine, authentic.
Mm,
And then marketing is 100% inauthentic.
mm,
It requires you to take a look at the numbers, see what's working and what isn't. Figure out how to do more of the stuff that's working and less of the stuff that's not working.
mm,
You have to like bother people. You have to make choices like asking people to sign up for your mailing list,
mm.
which will annoy some people when they get that pop up. You get that pop up on a website
Yeah.
that says sign up for our mailing list. Nobody's like, thank God.
Yeah. I've been waiting this my whole life. Yeah.
Yeah, I really wanted to. I was really hoping it would go to this website and like, oh, I almost clicked away before they asked me to sign up for something. Um, but like, then you look at the numbers and you go, okay, well that means that we got more mailing list signups, which means more revenue per release. Like,
Hmm.
is literally putting dollars in your pocket by doing something that is going to annoy some percentage of your audience.
Hmm.
And you do so cynically. You say, hey, I'm going to do something that I think is going to have like an overall positive effect, but it's going to have negative drawbacks. I'm going to weigh those aspects against each other in a kind of cruel, logical way,
Hmm.
and that is what the business owner brain has to constantly do is assess whether or not something is going to work mathematically.
Mm.
Um, and so if you get really into the sort of building an abstract system of like, hey, what's going to work mathematically to convert impressions into sales,
Hmm.
it can be a fun game to play to
Hmm.
like run a business. Um, but it is a very, very different game than like I'm trying to create authentic art because of my love of creativity, my love of the subject matter, like the process of making art. They're two opposing forces.
Hmm.
And I've met all kinds of people that balance them. It's not just like one kind of person, one kind of artist. It transcends genre, it transcends like personal background, identity. I
Yeah.
met all kinds that do it. Just some people like to play both games and can figure out a way to kind of marry them together. But that's what I mean when I say like most this is just not a good fit for most people. It's like
Mm.
most artists should just make good art and like that should be their whole job.
Yeah, that's the ideal.
And sometimes I fantasize about that because that it sounds pretty good, right? Like
Mm.
wouldn't mind that job.
Yeah. Doodle says, OMG, bothering people's the absolute hardest and worst part of it for me. Darby's Rex
Yeah.
says, I agree. I don't even like sending at everyone's in Discord. I know that
Right.
feeling.
Right. Yes, it hurts every time you do like an announcement post
Oh.
on a Discord or even just posting on social media. I
Mm.
like it really does. I think it hurts everybody a little bit when like the part of it is the anxiety of like I'm going to post this thing and it's going to bomb.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
then this thing you put your heart into is going to like bomb in front of everybody.
Mm.
Feels bad. But even if you knew it was a success, you still do feel like you're bugging people by like
Mm.
forcing your way into their timeline. I don't think anyone feels totally comfortable with it unless, I mean, I personally don't feel totally comfortable with it all the time. It's just like a reality of like my job.
Yeah.
And, I also try to look at the positive side. Like people follow me because they do like to see the stuff in their feed.
Mhm.
And I follow artists and I'd love to see their work in my feed. And so I have to like try to put that hat on and imagine that like the people seeing my work is something that they get excited for, and they're welcoming. Um, but yeah, the artist brain does not work that way.
Yeah. I know a lot of people, recommend like reposting your own work like on Twitter, you do the retweet of your own stuff and then you post old stuff and it's like, oh my God, what if someone already saw this artwork before, why do I
Yeah,
show it to them twice? You can't be doing that. It's like, well,
yeah, especially if it bombs, like you post it and like only like
oh,
100 people see it.
yeah.
You don't go like the first instinct is not, oh my God, I should repost this.
Mm.
You're like, I've already posted it.
Yeah.
The reality is only 100 people have seen it. So
Yeah.
like you're not
No one's seen it.
bothering anyone.
Yeah.
No one's seen it. Um, and so like the intuition we have as artists, I think runs totally counter to our correct choices.
Hmm.
So it really requires like creating an emotional firewall where you have this, you're able to make correct, good, logical choices about, building your audience, building your business that are opposite of like what you feel like you should be doing sometimes.
Hmm.
And that's not to say that like it's all you should always do what you feel is wrong.
Hmm.
It's not about right or wrong. It really is just, I think we need to be making strategic, if you're going to be a content creator online, you need to understand the game, the rules of the game you're playing, and make strategic choices,
Hmm.
right? And I find myself talking to a lot of other aspiring content creators about this, and they know what the right choices are often,
Hmm.
and what they need is a frame for permission to be able
Hmm.
to do them because they really do feel bothered by bothering people.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm usually when I'm in these conversations, I'm a fan of that person's work, and I'm like trying to express to them how much I wish I could see more of their stuff in my feed instead of whatever Twitter is feeding me.
Yeah.
It's like the world is such a crazy place.
Mm.
It's so much nicer to see like
Art.
great paintings
Yeah.
than it is to see most of whatever else is on social media. So I'm always trying to encourage artists to just push themselves out there more, even if it's uncomfortable, because for no better reason than I want to see it.
Yeah, it can be so demoralizing for a lot of people. I've spoken to, many, many kind of people who are trying to grow their, social media, like in terms of art. And like that kind of lack of feedback when you like put your stuff, into the void and you drop, your stone in the ocean and there's like nothing, it's like, yeah, I, it really wears on people. It's interesting how that kind of never really goes away. Like even if you're like at like one of the biggest digital artists in the world, you still kind of get that feeling. Just like kind of scaled up. Like, oh, I've only got like 100 likes. Like usually you get like 2,000. Like this is crazy.
Oh yeah, and like, and then you also you're in an environment where people are, uh, social media is horrible.
Mm.
Like there are people who will like, there'll be haters who will be like cataloging that you didn't get as many likes as you did a
What?
couple years ago. Yeah,
Like it's like the personal
people
failing?
get.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, so it's not just that like, oh, it's gonna feel bad like if this doesn't go well. It's like, oh, there's people who are going to like make note of it. It's it's a hellscape. Like the panopticon that we built for ourselves is not good. I really want to go back to chronological feeds on everything. I want to put all these
Mm.
social media mavens in jail. I want Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, now Larry Page. Hey, good news that he's in charge. Put him up against the wall. We got any other questions before I go down a dangerous rabbit
Yeah.
hole?
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, social media is just really good for mental health, I think everyone feels so much better in their lives whenever they're on the socials. Let's see. I think we had a
Yeah.
question in the backlog. How do you get this is from Chicken Sensation, which is a great name.
Mhm.
How do you get in the right mindset to draw? Do you have certain routines before drawing?
God, I don't. This is something I really feel like I've struggled with terribly. I
Really?
don't. Yeah. Oh, I I definitely don't draw enough as,
Hmm.
and like a lot of it I think comes down to lifestyle. Like I draw as like a precursor to painting,
Mm-hmm.
and so
Hmm.
I don't like I'm a I'm a middle-aged family man. Like my hobbies involve, watching movies with my kids or watching them play video games or playing video games myself. I really, there's a certain amount that needs to get done for my job,
Yeah.
and that's what gets me in the mood to draw, which sucks. Like I really want to retire so I can do art as a hobby
Hmm.
because I would love to like be focused on that question. That's such a that's such a wholesome thought to me, is to be focused on drawing, like creating the space and the mindset for drawing instead of like having the need to draw. Because I don't know, it's it's such a great escape when you do it for the right reasons.
Yeah. I know there's like this feeling a lot of especially freelancers get of like anytime you're relaxing, anytime you're not drawing or not working is time that in your brain feel like you could be spending drawing. And it's like, "Oh my god, I need to be productive right now. What am I doing playing a game, right?"
Yeah, I think content creators get that the same thing about a lot
Hmm.
of stuff, but I've fought that off. I mean, I've been a content creator full time for a long time.
Mhm.
If I had that feeling all the time, I would be way richer. I would have made way more money because, like, if I was just like pushing out daily YouTube videos for the last 10 years,
Mhm.
holy shit, man, I would have. I was on YouTube back when it was like 480p. I had like tutorial videos from back then that got hundreds of thousands of views while I like wasn't uploading on a channel.
Wow.
Like if I had that kind of Grussel mindset, I could have like done a lot more. But I instead focused on trying to be efficient with the way that I spent my time.
Hmm.
Oh, we lost him. We
What
lost your
happened?
webcam.
Oh, you
Your
hello?
webcam is crazy.
Oh, I'm still on my screen. That's not good.
Oh, good.
Um,
Song. It's turned
I,
into a beige smear on mine.
oh, fun.
Um,
Chat, let us know if there's anything wrong. Anyway, go on.
yeah, and so I'm very concerned with like the efficiency of the time that I spend. Like, is this all adding up to something? Is a question I'm worried about more often
Mhm.
than anything else. Like, okay, I can make a painting and then I can put it on Patreon and get paid on Patreon,
Mhm.
and then I can release it as a print and sell a certain number of copies of a print, and then it's going to go in a book and I'm going to sell a certain amount of copies of that book.
Mhm.
Like, I want to make the time that I spend not just be a trading time for money the way that you do when you're a freelancer.
Mm.
I want to be able to build assets for myself, intellectual property assets that like have value over time.
Mhm.
And that's been a driving force behind a lot of my decisions with my work. Is like, is this going to build value over time for me, or is this going to be like a one-off where I just trade some amount of time for some amount of money in a kind
Mm.
of direct exchange? Um, because trying to make a full-time living off of being an art content creator in like a super tight niche like requires the work to work in like a really efficient way,
Yeah.
I think. um, and so with that mindset for efficiency, I think I've managed to dodge that like overworking sense that like freelancers get.
Mm.
Or the other explanation is that I'm instinctively very lazy, and like it's never occurred to me. I have pretty bad work-life balance, but not to
Mm.
the degree that I hear about, where people
Mhm.
get like they don't take days off or they don't like they never get around to opening up their new video game console. Like that is
Mm.
not a risk for me. I am very good at taking time off and like
Nice.
relaxing and spending time with my family, and I'm I'm too good at it. I've I've been I've been doing all right at this for too long, and now it's like the real question is, it's like, do I need to get a job just so that somebody's going to yell at me if I don't show up for work? Um, I've hired employees like in part to try to make sure that there's some other amount of accountability
Mm.
beyond my own, like beyond myself,
Mhm.
because I I really could just go for months without getting anything done. I'm so lazy.
I mean, I think being good at spending time with your family is a pretty good trait to have, like in terms of just being a healthy human being.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously, like the hustle mindset, make you a little more money in the end, but you gotta have those.
Yeah, I think that my I think you could frame my deep instinctive laziness as a asset,
Hmm.
just because it's driven me to create a really efficient approach to this whole game.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. Being efficient by never doing line work, just doing sketches and painting.
Yeah, again, yeah, in the art side of things, I was looking, a lot of my older work some of my most popular.
Hmm.
Um, it's like the foundation for my books. Like looking back at those old paintings, I did several of them in a couple of days, and I can see like these days, the longer I've painted, the more I kind of get picky about sewing up all the details and being
Mm.
able to spot my mistakes and really like recognizing where I could do more work.
Hmm.
But back in back 10 years ago, I was my brain would just completely filter it out. It wanted to stop working so bad. I would just filter out all the stuff that I
Interesting.
should have fixed or
Hmm.
cleaned up and then just squinted at it and went like, yeah, that's good enough. And I created some of my best work with that mindset.
Hmm.
So I can't shit talk it. I think that there's something about not overworking things and just like recognizing what's important and moving on that is like good creatively as well as for
Hmm.
your lifestyle.
Yeah, I think a lot of painters can struggle with that, like the kind of feeling of like you're rendering. Where do I
Yeah.
stop, right? And like kind
Yeah.
of there's no real actual stopping point, but there's a point where like I can work in this for 5 more hours and it'll be like 2% better, you know? Um,
Yeah. But
but
when you're working on client work, that all of a sudden you have a different calculus because
mm,
you're looking at this thing and you're like, I have a backlog of things I need to get to, and I'm only getting paid, $300 for this. Um, what point do I get to call this done?
mm,
Instead of like, can I do another 10 hours of rendering on this?
mm-hmm,
And it forces you into a much more efficient mindset, I think.
mm.
Um, Sometimes it results in lazy crap work that gets turned into the client. But I think it's also like that's when I felt like I started to actually get like ease into my like real professional skill set was
Mm.
when I started doing commercial work, and I had like this dual mandate. Well, one, you have to get it done quickly because there's more stuff to do after you're done with this. And then the other one is like you can't ever get stuck because my experience leading up to like the starting my career like through college was that I would get stuck. I'd say about 70% of my paintings that I started, I wouldn't know how to finish them.
Interesting. Yeah.
So being stuck, like trying to do a personal painting or like do a commission, getting to a point where I like couldn't figure out why I was stuck, but like it didn't matter how much I rendered, the piece would never get finished.
Hmm.
Like I knew that this is a problem I watch a lot of people get into,
Yeah, a lot.
and I realized like, oh, if I'm going to do a magic card, I can't get stuck and like have to reboot it after 6 months of failing to finish it.
Hmm.
Like I need to just finish it.
Yeah.
And I need to finish it by a deadline. So it needs to be both guaranteed to get done and it needs to like be done so quickly. And
Hmm.
it changed that like having that suddenly hanging over my head changed the way I worked immediately. It changed my entire workflow and decision making process. And then that carried over into my personal work where all of a sudden now I had this like clear path on how to distinctly like move from um, an idea to like a finished painting without ever getting like brutally bogged down the way that I used to when I was young.
Interesting. So you found that like doing a lot of client work kind of helped you overcome the feeling of like I'm 70% done, I don't know how to finish this. Like being able
Yeah,
to have that stopping point. Interesting. Okay.
it gave me perspective on what was getting stuck, but it also incentivized me instantly to change my work method in a way that was like less likely to get stuck.
Hmm.
The same thing happened when I learned how to do concepting, where I went from all my pieces took multiple weeks to like I got hired to do a concept push where I was going to be on site for 3 weeks.
Hmm.
And I was like, I got there. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know how to do this. How much work do you guys expect me to do per day? Like how many paintings should I be finishing per day? And they're like, well, most people finish, 3 or 4. So it
Hmm.
went from like I had maybe 2 or 3 weeks to finish a painting to like having to do 1 or 2 before lunch.
Hmm. Oh wow.
Um, and I was immediately like, okay, I can't paint the same way. Like I need to use different tools. I need to work differently. Like it just requires a different workflow. And I didn't watch a class or like consult with anybody. It was simply like the constraints of the project that forced me to think and work differently.
Hmm.
And I found that it was actually not that hard to achieve that goal when I set the appropriate boundaries.
Hmm. Interesting.
Um, I found that's been true for me over the years is that when I make a big change to the way that I work, like if I want to level up in a huge noticeable way,
Hmm.
it's always at a moment when I'm like required to do so.
Hmm.
Um, I think that a lot of people do need some amount of academic learning to be able to like get better at drawing and painting.
Hmm.
But I really think that like um, understanding like what constraints you need to be setting for yourself go a really really long way to getting better.
Yeah. Necessity is the mother of invention, indeed. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, really good point. Eric Boy, hey man, how's it going? He says it's crazy how you can do 1,000 hours, 100 hours on a personal art for free, but if you're paid, you're gonna stop at 50 because you're not gonna get paid to go for 100 hours.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen people take terrible paying commissions where they own nothing and do 100 hours on it.
Mm.
Um, and I've also watched people take top tier commissions from giant clients and complete them in 30 minutes.
Wow.
Just speed paint them and throw them away. Like it's not even a matter of like you got a job, you finally got a job for your dream company. It really is, I think, a matter of like people's personal goals and the relationship with the work.
Hmm.
Um,
Makes
Everything
sense.
about art is personal. So I think when it comes to like a lot of these like larger professional practices, people get a sense that there's like a right and a wrong way to think about it or to do it. But I really think it comes down to personality.
Yeah. Speaking of personality,
Sure.
Patrick Zigart says, may I ask, have you ever felt demotivated by looking at other art? Some see it as inspiration, but can also definitely be demotivating by the thought of never being able to reach that goal. Comparison is the theft of joy. Do you maybe have also a positive perspective on that? Hmm.
I mean, I get inspired. I go to a museum. I don't feel uninspired. I feel like I think, oh shit, I this is a door that's been open to me. I've refused to walk through it.
Hmm.
I'm like, that's the feeling I get a lot when I see it. Somebody who's better than me at painting.
Yeah.
It's the sense like I could walk through that door, but I've been a fool to not do so. Um,
Interesting.
Sometimes I think, I've never walked through that door because beyond that door lies some personal madness that I don't really want to engage with. Like, it's so just maybe just sour grapes. Like,
Yeah.
yes, I
I
could
don't
do
need
that level
that.
of detail and study to do that, but I
Hmm.
really don't want to. And I
Hmm.
think that there is a real honesty there. It's like sometimes the process of what achieves those results is not what you actually want to spend your time doing.
Hmm.
Like, people discount how much of art is like process.
Hmm.
What are you doing and in what order are you doing those things in matters a lot. Like that's your experience day to day, moment to moment. And some types of art require a process that people just hate.
Yeah.
So not getting those results is really just a reflection of not wanting to actually do that work.
Hmm.
um, I think that seeing art as like a byproduct of the work process alleviates some of that, because you look at somebody who's doing something incredible and you go, damn, I never want that job. like, like,
Oh my.
whoa, that's incredible work. I do not want that. Like,
Hmm.
you see somebody working at a zoo and you're like, oh my God, they get to spend every day around the lions and tigers and bears. And then you think about what it'd be like to shovel bear shit all day, and you go, I'm glad somebody's doing
Yeah,
it.
interesting.
That's sort of the way I see a lot of art that is unlike the kind of stuff I'm likely to make.
Hmm.
As I go, I'm glad somebody's doing it because it's great that this stuff is out there, and I am so glad it's not me.
Mm. Yeah. Eric Boy says, splash out for Riot, 300 hours rendering particles. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to do Riot once. They hired me to do like a splash art once, and
Mm.
I did the worst job on it, and they just paid me out in full and kicked me to the curb,
Oh.
which was no, it was the best possible response. They were very professional about telling me that they weren't going to use it, and they paid out my contract without any kind of arguments. Like, they were great to work with,
Dream
and I
client, yeah.
was just a terrible fit for doing Riot stuff. I don't really like the work methods or aesthetics of splash art very much.
Hmm.
So when I see these like crazy 300-hour splash arts, my reaction is usually, this isn't for me. I don't I don't have any jealousy at all about it. I really
Hmm.
just think it's like definitely not my thing.
Makes sense, yeah. Patrick says, we'll got to step up and do Ron Gia's process, yeah. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Rin is like one of those artists I see and I go, wow, that's really on the verge of what I think is like even possible.
Hmm.
Um, but I know I don't really want to do work that's rendered like that. I
Hmm.
get I really enjoy other aspects of it, like some aspects of like the lighting and value control I find to be really inspiring, and I
Hmm.
want to like bring that in as reference and take from it. But like subject matter wise, and then some of the more nuanced rendering, I'm just not interested in working like that.
Yeah.
I don't have that desire.
Yeah.
So I don't really, it doesn't make me frustrated. I, I think most people could do most things in art given enough time.
Yeah.
I think that the thing that holds them back is that a genuine desire to not do it. They just don't want that job.
Yeah, got to know your own laziness, you know? It's,
Yeah. I mean, like, if people really wanted to do it, they could do it.
yeah.
It's not physically demanding most of the
Hmm.
time. It's just, yeah, most people don't want to make those kind of brushstrokes. They don't want to spend that much time. They don't want to learn those specific techniques.
Hmm.
And that's normal. Like, it's a super niche thing that is wrong for most people. And
Hmm.
that's, and so we should be glad there's somebody who wants to do that, because then it puts this out in the world.
Yeah. Kind of makes me think of like shoulds, right? Like, I should go to the gym. I should learn Blender sometime. Like, well, if
Should
you're,
go.
you know, it's like, if you're saying I should do something, then there's a reason you're not doing it yet, you know?
Right.
Or I should draw like Ron Gia. Well, he's already doing it, and you can draw in your own way. You know, like you find what
Exactly.
niche of art works for you, and what method and process is suited to your own kind of not just like abilities, but also like what you're willing to tolerate in terms of doing an art work.
It's not
Um,
even tolerant. Like, I think that the worst
hmm,
parts about art are like desirable to the right people. Like,
hmm,
the idea of spending 300 hours hunched over a tablet rendering art isn't, people don't do it because they like really want the final JPEG.
hmm,
Like, it's a thing that they want to spend their time doing to get something out
hmm.
of the experience of it. And if they don't, they're probably in the wrong career,
Yeah.
because you're going to be competing against people who get off on the experience of rendering.
Hmm.
They didn't just do it because they want to be the best. They did it because they like doing it.
Yeah.
Everyone supposedly gets into art because they like love making art. And then at some point they like stop asking themselves like what parts about it that gives them pleasure, and they start asking about what's effective.
Hmm.
And I think that's the point where they start to get stuck.
How do you get unstuck from that?
You need to learn how to be hedonistic with your art process. You got to make art
Okay.
the way that you like.
Hmm.
Got to get back to just loving drawing or loving painting. like the feeling of doing it and not having it be a means to an end. Because if the work were a means to an end, you should just become an accountant. That's an easy job.
Is that kind of a process that you kind of had to go through yourself, like rediscovering, like, am I just doing this to make pretty JPEGs, or is like, do I love this process, or?
Yeah, all the time, constantly. I
Mm.
think it's like one of those things that if you learn it academically, sometimes it might hit you and go, "Well, that is it. That's what I've been missing the whole time. That's how I've been fucking this up. Now I can go back and start making great work again."
Mm.
And at some point, a month or two later, you start making choices again because of the wrong reasons. You know, you feel like, "Oh, I should be doing this. I should be doing that," instead of following you know, your desires. And you keep having to relearn that lesson over and over and over again.
Mm.
You never really like ascend past it. I don't think. Maybe I'm just bad at getting it to stick.
Yeah, chat. Do you also walk into this rake repeatedly? Of
Yeah, I think I have a feeling it's relatable. I have a feeling that we
Mm.
all kind of know that there's a time in our life where we just loved drawing and painting, and we just did it for the love of it. And then
Yeah.
like there are times where we found ourselves doing it out of for like the stupidest reasons, and like I I imagine that we probably associate those times we did it for the right reasons with
Mm.
our favorite art that we've made and our best results as far as like money and attention.
Mm-hmm.
And then the opposite's true. Like the times where you feel like you're really just doing it for all the wrong reasons, it's just like it feels like your whole life is drying up.
Mm. Yeah.
So like you'd think that with all the incentives pointing the right way, it would be an easy lesson to learn and stick with, but it's not. It's like
Mm.
I think one of the core difficulties I think of this whole business.
Yeah. Ailu says, honestly, I am always drowning in shoulds, and my worst slumps always came out
Yeah.
of work and purely out of obligation and not growing or enjoying it. Yeah,
Mhm.
the obligation.
Obligation. You know, obligation is a word I use a lot when I'm describing this phenomenon.
Mm.
I'm really glad it got brought up. I feel like you can see. Maybe back me up on this.
Okay.
Do you feel like you can see when there's obligation in somebody's work? Like you open up their
Mm.
portfolio, you can see the obligation.
I think so, yeah. I've seen some art stations like that.
I've seen a lot of art stations where like people ask me, "What do you think of my art?" And I I'm always going to be like positive and gentle and ask them what they want to hear, because the thing that scares the crap out of me is when I see somebody's portfolio and it's all obligation.
Mm.
And I want to like get them, I want to eventually get to the idea that I want to tell them that everyone can see the obligation.
Yeah.
And, but I don't want to be like, everyone can tell that you don't care. That's
Mm.
certainly not the message. But I want people to know that like when you do work because you feel obliged, everyone can tell.
Mm.
And no one's talking about it, but everyone can see it. It's not just you, it's a lot of people. It's most people who are trying to do this professionally. You can always see it. Professional artist, student, amateur, whatever, you can always see the obligation.
Yeah.
And it's not an attractive feature.
Mm.
You want to see the opposite of it is like just I don't know, obsession, just like people just being way into it. They
Mm.
love it. The care, the love. I mean, that's what people want to see. Even if the rendering's not that good and the anatomy's kind of like janky, like they're not so good at perspective.
Mm-hmm.
If you can show like love and inspiration in your work, people will pay attention to it.
I don't know why, but I think of that one Freerin fan art of like the free, like she's looking up at like the
Yeah,
sky, and like how like
yeah,
everyone loved that because like it felt so like raw and real. Like this was someone
yeah,
who made that art purely out of like joy and loving,
yeah.
loving the
They didn't
process.
they didn't know how to draw it, but they spent way too much time thinking about how to draw it.
Yeah,
And like you can feel that from like taking one look at it, even though it's all kind of janky looking.
yeah, um,
Um, that always carries the day. I mean that's what makes art, I think, like hit for people is to see through the work and see the artist on the other side of it.
hmm Also, quick sidebar question. What is your canvas size? What pixels?
Oh, good question. I'm working on a smaller canvas than usual because it's a spot
Okay.
illustration. It's just 36 by 3600,
Okay.
12 by 12 inches. That should be big enough to go inside an RPG.
Hmm.
It's never going to be on a billboard or prints or whatever. I could scale it up if I needed to, but this is a comfortable size.
And when you're making your kind of
Uh,
like big angel illustrations, like what kind of size do you use then?
it's usually around 8,500 pixels tall on like a big portrait vertical
Hmm.
format. Um, I have had this observation recently, and I don't know. I need to investigate it more.
Hmm.
I People ask me all the time about like brushes and canvas size,
Hmm.
and I'm working on I think it's a 16-year-old copy of Photoshop. I'm working on
CS6.
CS6, yeah,
Uh-huh.
which is, I mean, it's approaching the point where they're going to pull the plug on me and like disable my license because they don't want to support it anymore. But it's like the last version of Photoshop you could buy before like they started going subscription model,
Mm.
and um it runs so smooth compared to like modern Photoshop.
Mm.
And I really like the other programs that exist these days, the non Adobe alternatives to
Yeah.
Photoshop. I think they're really good.
Hmm.
But every one of them kind of chugs when you use big brushes on big canvases.
Yeah, CSP,
So when I,
yeah.
yeah, so when I go and make like I want to do like big smoke effect or something, and I just do something like this in the background.
Yeah.
Like I have a pretty weak computer, so there's a little bit of chugging, but I can paint thousands and thousands of pixels on a canvas without any kind of like major lag.
Fascinating. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that doesn't work on CSP.
Hmm.
Like I've heard that it's a threading issue that um, Photoshop does multi-threading and has like GPU enhancements, but like Krita and CSP don't do it, and so they're CPU bound.
Yeah, I see.
And so to have a program that is both like not CPU, like not as CPU limited, but also does it like boots up fast and runs smoothly.
Hmm.
I think it requires you to have like an ancient, older program. Like I think only like
Mm.
antique software will do it these days.
Interesting. The old, good
Uh,
old vintage stuff, yeah.
yeah, I don't know if that's 100% true, but that like everything I've tried to boot up on my machine here, and this is I've got a 1080. It's like I think it's I think it's probably about a 6-year-old machine. It runs Photoshop like smoothly, reliably. It's snappy, but not much else runs that smooth on it.
Mm.
I think that there's a we there's basically no options on the marketplace that just work ideally anymore.
Mm.
There's room for someone to really like blow it up and make it good.
Yeah.
I, I really I've been getting frustrated with Windows broadly, so I've been thinking about I really want one of those Steam
Oh,
boxes
Steam
they're
machines, yeah, yeah.
releasing
Mm-hmm.
machine, and I really want to try to use some like GIMP and Krita on there to
Mm.
see if like in a native Linux environment I start to get some of the same super smooth responsive feeling that I'm getting out of old versions of Photoshop on Windows.
Mm-hmm.
Because it would be awesome if it turned out that like affordable open source Linux stuff was like the future for all this.
That'd be really cool. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I mean, I will say though, I mean, the 1080, if that's that's pretty invincible. So it's gonna serve it for a long time, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I got it ages ago and it was like good at the time. And then since then, I'll buy like a new game or something and it'll run terribly. I'm like, I thought my computer was good. But it's not good anymore. I don't have anything that does ray tracing.
Mm.
So there's no ray tracing, no AIs, nothing on here. This is just like I mean, not like I need any of that. Like I just like being able to run Photoshop
Mm-hmm.
and like Slay the Spire. So
Hell yeah. Nice. Have you played Slay the Spire 2, by the way?
I think I'm rocking up on 200 hours at this point.
Oh my goodness.
Getting close to 200 hours. I'm trying to get it to Ascension 10 with everybody,
Mm,
but I've only got Ascension 10 on silent. Um,
nice.
I haven't beaten Ascension 10 on any of them. I'm currently trying to get Regent up from 9 to 10, and just I think I've probably spent my last 20 hours failing with Regent at Ascension 9. But I mean, they keep patching it also. So like they like did a major rebuild on this class like after at a certain point where I was like in the middle of this huge grind.
Mm,
So if I like put it down for a year and come back, I'm gonna be playing a better balanced game.
yeah, that's like the patient gamer mindset. You know, you wait like 2 years, like everything's all fixed. The DLCs are free. Uh, you know,
Yeah, exactly.
it's a good time. Um, yeah, that was my go-to airplane game was SDS1. So I need to get into two
Yeah,
sometime when I have
same
time. Uh,
on my phone. But
yeah.
Slay Spire 2 is really good. It
Mm,
I wish there was more unique from Slay Spire 1.
mm,
Appreciate them bringing back the classic characters, but I I think I like Slay the Spire 2 more, but I
yeah.
really wish it was there's more unique stuff. It feels like it's coming, but
Mm,
like the first early access release is very similar to Slay the Spire 1.
yeah. I mean, sometimes like more of a good thing is, I mean, Hollow Knight, Silksong is more Hollow Knight, but that's still Hollow Knight. Um,
Yeah. I'm also a big Hollow Knight and Silksong
yeah.
fan. I think Silksong is more different from Hollow Knight than Slay the Spire 2 is from Slay the Spire
Oh,
1.
really? Okay. Um, yeah. But
Rob
going,
Schneider's asking, how's your experience working with Wizards? I really like the art director I was working with, Jeremy Jarvis. I think he's the creative director there now. I don't think he does. They have like back when I worked there, they had one art director, and now I think they have 14.
wow.
And it was before UB, so I wasn't doing any kind of license stuff.
Hmm.
It was like a lot of original creativity. I did concept art with them. I did illustration with them. I really liked working with Jeremy, and I really like um, that era of Magic was kind of my favorite. Maybe just my own bias, me working on it. So I've got a lot of nostalgia for that era of Magic.
Nice.
But I have been public about my criticisms for some of their business practices. Nowadays, Donato Giancola seems to be the one carrying the torch on that. He's going
Yeah.
completely apeshit on Facebook,
Yeah.
on artists and on Wizards
Probably can't go
related
too
to some
much
of
into that on this channel, but
yeah, but it's so I've been pretty public about like my disagreements about that, but that's between me and like the executives that run Wizards and Hasbro. Like my experiences working with the creative team have been nothing but stellar
hmm,
over the years. Like they've always been better to me than I was to them, and I thought that they're all excellent at their jobs. It's difficult trying to disentangle like the stuff that the executives do
yeah,
from the stuff that the creative staff and like the people who really make the game. And so that's been the difficult part about both the praise and the criticism of them is because like I don't really associate with that identity of being like a magic artist anymore
hmm,
because of like my past disagreements with like the related to business practices and contracting and stuff.
hmm,
But then I feel like I'm like in opposition to the people who I thought were great at their jobs and who I loved working with, and I'm proud to I'm very happy for any joy I brought to the fans. Like the fans have always been excellent as well. So
yeah,
um, it's it's one of those things. Like part of the reason I think people don't get out there and scream about it more is because it's like nearly impossible to like express it in a way where you could be fully understood.
yeah. Like it's
Um,
the internet,
so
especially
I
like
try to
social
focus
media,
on
and
the positive.
hmm,
Yeah.
that's good. Question from Roxanne. Question: what is your work rhythm like throughout the year? So I guess the kind of like maybe
Oh.
cycles of work and productivity and all that.
Yeah, I mean, it really is more like a month to month than it is day to day
Hmm. Okay.
because like I go through these periods where I have a lot to do in terms of my admin work, having to format images and get back to emails and deal with like business administration, which is way more than the average freelancer has to deal with. as being an indie. And so I will have multiple days in a row that are dominated by these kinds of more administrative type tasks. And then but I can't go like a whole month without finishing some art. So it's like I my rhythm is very much like week to week because my priorities shift over the course of a month. And then my priorities also shift over the course of a year,
Mm.
where I have to be looking ahead to like future months to see like, is it the beginning of the month or the end of the month where I'm going to be tight on time because of travel or because of some release or something like that. And so trying to figure out where the art fits in it, where it becomes a priority, has a lot to do with like looking forwards and strategizing more
Hmm.
so than like scheduling out like any single day of work, which makes it all that much more challenging. It's it's difficult.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like, obviously going back to the previous conversation about like the business side of things and having to
Mhm.
manage all the admin and, all the social media and all that. Um, yeah, as Local Elf is pointing out. um, but yeah, we're about pretty far in, I think, at the top of the next hour, so about like 20 minutes from now. If anyone has more questions for Peter, feel free to ask in the chat. We will try to get to
Yeah.
everything as best we can. Um, but yeah, let's see if actually anything in the backlog that I missed. Patrick says, I definitely did art because I thought I need to, not because I wanted to. Yeah, I've seen that
Need
mindset
to.
quite a lot.
That's crazy. Like, yeah, it's like you get into art because you want to, and then like at some point you tell yourself, "Oh, I've got to do this.
Hmm.
I got to do this kind of illustration for my
Yeah.
portfolio or for like to impress this client." And it's that obligation that I think people don't recognize how much others can see it when they do
Hmm.
it. It's really hard to cover up. Like even if you know that that's like a concern, it's a real hazard, and you like expressly try to like work against it. It's still very hard. I don't know if it's even possible to like fully paper over that feeling that other people can recognize that you did it for because you felt like you had to.
It's interesting because I feel like people often will try to impress clients they don't want. Like they'll try to adapt to a style that seems popular at the time, but it's not what they want
Sure.
to be doing for work, which is kind of
Right.
antithetical to their goals because you want to impress the clients
Yeah.
that you want to work with. That's ultimately, what you can do on your art station. And if you're trying, like, you're aspiring, like, I don't want to be a environment artist, but I'm doing all environments because that's what's, selling. It's like,
Yeah.
well, then maybe you should do what you like, do what you want to be doing for work. Uh,
Yeah. It's a difficult question. There was a time when somebody asked me, "Well, what do you want to be doing?" And I said, "Book covers." I was talking to like a world famous artist at a like a convention or workshop,
hmm.
and they're like, "What do you want to be doing?" And I said, "Book covers," because at the time, book covers seemed like the place where you could do prestige illustration and make enough money at it to like get by. Because like I knew I could. I think I was already doing magic cards at the time, and it was not paying the bills. Um, and I wanted to be full time illustration. And I was like, that's the place where you go to upgrade your career is book covers. And so he tells me, well, you need to start drawing faces and you need to start drawing multi-figure scenes, and like giving me all this advice of stuff that like is good advice for someone who wants to do book covers, but it ran completely counter to like what was interesting about my portfolio, about my body of work. And so I spent a bunch of time doing speculative work to try to like get book cover gigs. The book cover gigs never came together, but I did realize that like it was a waste of time. It was just a terrible side quest that like resulted in nothing. Like I didn't I wasn't paid for the work. It never really like expanded my brand, and it like wasn't the kind of work I wanted to be making.
Yeah.
Um, and so the question, the question I have for myself was like, hey, was I being honest when I said I want to do book covers or no?
Hmm.
Because there was a part of me that did want to do book covers because of its potential benefit financially and where I saw
Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
my career. But you know, when you say want, it's like I don't think that saying that you want something gives a clear picture on your goals. It's more complicated. And I don't think we give a lot of credence to that. But
Yeah,
certainly, I've asked plenty of people, what do you want to be doing? And they'll give me all kinds of answers. And because of my own experience of myself giving these inadvertently dishonest answers, I always treat people's answers to this question with a lot of suspicion. That not that I think that they're lying to me, but that they don't fully understand the ramifications of their
yeah.
answers for
Hmm.
themselves. And so if I'm ever working with somebody long term, like I'm doing a mentorship with them, I will ask them this question. And the over the course of the next like couple of weeks or months, I will be revisiting those answers with my skepticism, like with evidence for why I might be skeptical,
Mm.
and trying to reveal to them where their preferences are and where their goals are and how it aligns with what they're good at. Because you can't just like tell somebody you don't want to do splash art because they, you know, what basis do you even have for telling somebody to their face, like, you don't want to work for Riot? If they tell you they want to work for Riot, like, why would you ever disbelieve them? But I think if you look at somebody's art and see the way that they work and what they love about art, and it is the exact opposite of what Riot does, it's possible to make a case to like help them see that it's not what their goals are. But it's something that is personal enough. It requires more of a conversation than what you can get in a portfolio review at a convention.
Yeah, that
So,
makes sense. And on the topic of that, actually, portfolio
mm,
question. It's from
sure.
Eric Bouillai. Yes. Should I make illustrations in the style of the job I'm aiming for, or just attempt to make the best art I can without changing my style? Which would be potentially better? Hmm.
Better is an interesting, vague question, vague
Yeah,
word
like
to
better for
use.
what?
Art directors will always tell you one answer, which is that you should always gear your portfolio towards the clients that you're trying to get,
Hmm.
which I think is a terrible piece of advice. I think it's just lazy answers from art directors who are
Okay.
sick of getting stuff that looks nothing like the projects they work on. Um,
Sure.
uh, I don't think that artists making spec work is really that productive of an idea. I think discovering what you really love about art making and leaning into that is going to bring out the most fruitful like opportunities in the future. I think that if we're thinking about best being like what's going to produce the best opportunities, I think it's that.
Hmm.
Oh,
That's good advice. Oh no, we've lost Photoshop. Um,
yeah.
uh,
Thank you.
Chicken Sensation says, how far into your art journey were you when you decided to turn it into a business?
Immediately.
Hmm.
I started drawing when I was 16, and like that same year, I like some friends invited me to come with them to an anime convention, and I like spent $10 to buy a table at the artist alley, and I just had like drawings on lined notebook paper, and I was sitting there trying to take like commissions. I I have been either selling prints or trying to do commissions for my work, like from like the very first year I started drawing, and so it's always been. This is what I mean about like I got into this career as a indie in part because I've just had a natural fit for it. Um, there's no point in my career where I wasn't doing that. So there wasn't a point where I ever felt like I was ready. It was just like I I've always just done it to either like a successful or unsuccessful degree, like forever.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can kind of get themselves stuck by doing that. Is like waiting until you're ready. Like, I'm not good enough to start taking commissions yet. I'm not. I don't want to put myself out there. I don't want to like put my work online. It's like there's this kind of feeling of wanting to prepare and like be optimal before you like kind of jump into the fray. Which I think you know can be a good option for some people, but it kind of you lose
I
out
don't
on.
think there's any value in it. I
Hmm.
mean, you should screw up on somebody else's dollar, I think. I think you should take commissions that you're unqualified for and do a
Hmm.
bad job and then see if you can keep the money. I just want to be on the side of artists, like that's the problem is like it may sound bad, but like I've been on the end of paying for commissions, like not in illustration, but in like I'm trying to do
Hmm.
sculptures, like I'm making these minis,
Hmm.
and I'm just like eating somebody else's mistakes. And I do what I'm trying to act in the way that I would want to be treated. So I'm just paying out in full and moving on. But
Yeah.
like, I really think artists should get make their mistakes on somebody else's time whenever they can. Get that job, talk your way into it, try to figure it out. And if you screw it up, like it's a learning experience.
Our recruiter Richard says, "Oh no, so much more work for me." Yeah, sorry, Richard. Uh, it is interesting though. I will say this. Also, sorry, Richard, but I've taken jobs where I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do the work.
Yeah.
Almost like a guinea pig client, right? Of like, this is a big assignment, and I did it, and they were happy. But it was definitely like a new thing that I'm like, okay, listen. In my head, I'm telling you, I can definitely do this. In my head, I'm like, there's like a 70% chance I can do this. Um,
Yeah, I remember early in my career getting some assignments from clients that were way bigger than I was capable of like fulfilling.
hmm,
And I did my absolute best. And in some cases, I just screwed it up. They paid me out the contract, and we walked away, and that was the end of it.
yeah.
And then, years later, I got better, and I worked with them again.
Hmm.
Like I, when you're young and you're building your career, like you do what you can. There's never a point where you're just going to be good enough.
Hmm. That's a good point. Yeah. Um, Speaking of good enough, Patrick Ziegart says, um, so finding out your own art taste will automatically bring the jobs instead of working towards a specific company. Um, I guess in portfolio terms, yeah.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is that we don't actually know. We've heard of like some of the biggest players in games.
Hmm.
Oftentimes, people have like they know Riot Games, they
Hmm.
know Wizards of the Coast,
Hmm.
and they're like, okay, so between Riot Games, Wizards of the Coast, and Blizzard, who should I be shooting to get hired
Hmm.
by? Like most people who are trying to get art jobs will get hired by anybody who's paying, and like you honestly don't know who's out there. Like
Hmm.
there might be some startup of some company that no one's heard of yet who's like working on their like debut game that is looking for concept artists and doesn't have a lot of history with anybody.
Yeah.
Um, you don't know what projects are out there in industries that you're not like fully aware of. Like I know there's a lot of historically like the last let's say 10 years there's been a lot of work in mobile, and artists don't really think about mobile games very much because it's not very high prestige.
Hmm.
But there's been billions of dollars flowing into mobile games, and so they have money to be paying top tier contract rates for artists, and a lot of artists have made good careers in that space.
Hmm.
So it's like um, the time when I worked in mobile, I didn't have a portfolio that was built for it. These days I think there's a little bit more of a precedent, so they do look for people who have certain skill sets sometimes, but
Hmm.
like if you're working in casino or mobile, like you really don't need to have this. It's You're not going to be necessarily gearing your portfolio specifically for casino or mobile.
Sure.
Maybe I'm just out of touch. Maybe that's just the way it was 10 years ago.
Hmm. Richard says they don't actually hire people who I don't think could do the job. Yeah, that would be kind of
Yeah.
a strange thing to do is hiring someone who's like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, you need to like sell them on the fact that you can do it.
Hmm. Yeah, show those sketches, show your process, show your thought,
Yeah.
the variations that you can pivot on based on feedback. That you're not going to be like reject criticism and, be difficult to work with or, uh,
But like if your shit looks really good, like if people look at your work and they go, damn, that's cool. Like, they're not going to be like, can you do a T pose turnaround?
Mm,
Like, they like, if you can do something that is difficult, um, you could probably do something that's easy.
that's a good point. Doodle says, I remember in uni, they'd often ask us to list our dream studios and gear towards those. I remember sitting there like, listen, man, I'm just happy to do concept art for someone.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think early in your career, it's like, I will take literally any job that is paying. um, big
Yeah,
mindset.
I had filled out some applications early on that were like, they're like, what's your desired position? And I just filled in any. And it's like, if you don't have a lot of positions for art right now, but like you need a QA tester, like I'm living in my parents' house and I love video games.
Mm,
Like, they don't want to hear that.
yeah.
They want people who can confidently perform tasks that they need done because they're trying to release a product.
Mm,
Um, and so demonstrating your skills in like the in the best possible way, like creating like the best demonstration of your skills is like what the portfolio is intended to do.
hmm
Um, and while that does also sometimes show that you can do a specific job by like doing, I don't know, spec work like demonstrations,
hmm
I think mostly what it is just like, do we think that this person has the underlying skill set to perform this work?
Mm,
And the reason why people don't get employed is typically because they're not demonstrating that.
mm. Yeah, it's almost like finding, problem solvers. Like we have a certain need for this client, and we need to find people who can address this specific kind of need and what they're looking for.
Yeah,
Um, so, but also just like showing off your skills and what you're capable of, and that you can solve problems as a
sure.
painter. You know?
The reason why I go kind of hard on the side of like, you should do personal work that
hmm
just like impresses people
hmm
is because I've seen a lot of student portfolios over the years, and student portfolios, you've seen them.
mm
I don't know, students I think need to see more student portfolios so they can see what this looks like.
mm
But when you see like uh, 3 T-pose turnarounds, one environmental painting, a couple of concept sketches, a few life drawings, and that's the portfolio. You go, this person was born yesterday. Like they have not lived a full life yet.
mm
Like they're working hard, they're doing well, that's admirable, they're putting themselves out there, but this is not a portfolio.
mm
Um, and so if you're just showing off like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, without any sense about like where your passions lie artistically, and you're doing like this smattering of different types of production art, like look, I can do props too. See, I did some item illustrations here, mixed in along with your like one painting of a castle and like a couple of life drawings or whatever. That is like shows a level of confidence like through the floor.
hmm
um, and anybody who's ever looked at portfolios has seen that portfolio 1,000 times, because that's what happens when you do all your schoolwork in college
mm
and you pick all the best work that you have from like a 3 or 4 year period and
mm
you throw it in a folder and you take it out to like show to professionals, and they're almost always going to be very kind to you about it. But like the one of the big things that like pushes people over the edge is like not looking like that. Like,
Yeah.
and it requires you to have a dozen paintings that are like all the same sort of thing. So really great environmental process work. Like, you can do, lots of different thumbnails and ideas for like environmental stuff, like sketches. You should be showing an entire portfolio full of like environmental work that is across different genres and like using different work methods and demonstrating all the problem solving and needs of what goes into that kind of work. um, People who are really into people who are environment artists, they like have an entire body of work that's environment art. And you typically people don't get that level of specificity at any point throughout college, which is
mm
why it is so tough to find stuff when you first get out,
Yeah.
because everyone's portfolio looks nearly identical,
Hmm.
and it's a tough thing to get past.
I recall you went to
You
college
need to
for
make a lot more.
you
Oh,
went for
sorry.
game design, right?
Yeah, yeah. I went for a really bad game design program.
Oh.
My school doesn't exist anymore. It
Oh,
got
wow.
sued out of existence by the U.S. government.
Well, that's a fun story for another stream. Okay. Interesting.
Uh, yeah.
Um, I think a lot of people also have gone to college that wasn't like maybe even art focused, or they learned a lot of their uh art like through YouTube and like personal studies and just like online stuff. And like there's so many resources out there that I think you don't have to be. I talked to a lot of student artists who are like worried about like I need to get into the right college for art, and there's like DigiPen and CalArts and all that. It's like, well, you'll
I
you'll
live near
find.
Ringling. The illustration program at Ringling is incredible.
Mm,
The caliber of students I see come through here is unbelievable.
that's good to know.
Somebody's asking, do you also happen to be a UArts alum too? Nope. I'm an AI alum. So there's more than one art school that was sued out of existence by the federal government,
What
which
does
is
that stand
funny.
for?
Art Institutes.
Oh.
It was a for-profit college,
Oh wait, we had one of
Ringling
those in
got.
Portland actually. It was like Art Institute of Portland, and that also got sued out of existence.
That's yeah. It was a whole bunch of them. It was
Yeah.
like a whole system of them that they were in all major cities,
Hmm.
and then it turns out that you're not allowed to give bonuses to recruiters for having kids sign up for student loans. So if
Huh.
the federal government's going to back the student loans, you can't have them. You can't create financial incentive for somebody to like get somebody to sign on the dotted line,
Oh
because
wow.
then you're creating an incentive for them to lie to somebody to get on a loan that they cannot default from.
Wow. Yeah, that is
Um,
that is insane.
and so when you have like cash bonuses for people who are recruiting students, um, then you do end up with a lot of students getting actively lied to up to the point where they accept federal loans.
Man. Yeah,
And
that's
that is what caused my school to stop existing. They told me that they had a 90% placement rate in the industry. So like they were saying to everybody, if you as long as you're not in the bottom 10% of your class, you will get a job in games when you graduate,
was that
which
true?
is no. So it's never been true for anyone. Like when I talk about the Ringling program,
Hmm.
the caliber of work from these students and the level of education they're getting from the professors is unlike anything I've ever seen. And I don't know what the placement rate is, but I can guarantee you it's not 90%.
Yeah.
And so me going to like a school in like the parking lot of the mall
It's all
is
Goodman
not getting
school.
a 90% placement rate.
Yeah, strip mall school. Uh,
It wasn't a
Richard.
strip mall. It was an office building, but it was in the parking lot next to Woodfield Mall in Schaumburg,
Okay.
a suburb of Chicago. Um,
Our recruiter Richard says it's like I always say, recruiters are the worst. Hmm.
yeah, but
I guess it's
I,
10%. Yeah.
I don't know where that lie originated from. Whether it was like the recruiters themselves or the department they worked for, but the law was you're not allowed to give them cash bonuses for getting kids to sign up for this stuff
Hmm.
because it creates a perverse incentive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's easy to agree with. Like you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I agree. Taking advantage of kids is bad. Anyway, uh,
It turned out fine for me.
hmm. I
I
think you
ended
did
up
pretty
getting a
well.
career in games pretty quickly after I graduated.
Hmm.
Um, but like the thing I credit to that was that I was really active in online communities throughout my
Hmm.
years in college. I'm sure that the people in this chat are likely on the Moon Colony Discord
Indeed.
and like have had lots of really great voice chats with professionals and other aspiring artists. That kind of thing where you're constantly making stuff to share to other people online and you're constantly participating in web communities.
Hmm.
To me, that's like where I felt like I learned everything that was valuable as an artist. It doing that for 4 years was like where I built my career from, more so than going to a college. So
Yeah.
I don't really consider myself even like self-taught, even though I didn't learn anything in college. It was like it was all from my peers online. So I'm a huge booster for online communities. I'm really happy that you guys have a such a nice space here.
Yeah, it's great. I've heard people compare it to kind of like like the concept art.org kind of vibe, of like people sharing knowledge and giving feedback and even just like kind of the accountability of like working well, just like chilling in a voice chat with people. It's like it helps you kind of stay
Yeah,
focused. It helps you, you know, um, like get feedback. Just like, hey, look at this thing I'm doing. What do you think of this? Like very organic kind of
yeah.
conversation. Um, we're
It
coming up at
pushes you a lot. I think
hmm,
it pushed me a lot.
yeah. So come on, join the Moon Colony Discord.
Not the Moon
Um,
Colony. Yes.
but yeah, kind of closing out. Closing question. We got from Robert Schneider. If someone would like to ask Peter opinions on their work, what would be the best way to ask Peter, if that's a possibility? Um,
Catch me on a Discord call.
cool.
Yeah, I'm always trying to help people who ask for my help, but whenever I get a question online, where if somebody DMs me and says, "Can you look at my portfolio and let me know what you think?" My question to them, whenever I give feedback, I need to ask a lot of questions. I'm always asking them, "What do you want to know?"
Hmm.
Because like I don't think I can give useful feedback in like a purely holistic way.
Yeah.
If somebody's just like, "What do you think?"
Yeah. It's like.
I'm going to just tell you it looks good and I'm proud of you. That's like the feel like the most useful thing I can say because
Hmm.
my goal in that interaction is to be as valuable as possible to whoever I'm talking to. And like if I don't have any other context and it's all over like DM chat that I'm like, you know, I'm not sitting down to type a really long response. I'm on my phone. I'm on the couch. I'm I'm only able to answer so much. So if you want to get feedback, like if you can find me hanging out in a Discord somewhere, or if I'm running a free class or something, I love helping, but it is challenging to help because I don't think that broadly, you know, broadcasting platitudes like actually is that valuable. I think you really need to get to know who you're talking to. So I really value like places where I can have one-on-one conversations with people, or small groups where we can just go back and forth and discuss, you know, what are your needs personally?
Hmm.
Because oftentimes people who are in very different industries, like they're in animation or whatever, I got nothing. I'm like, I think you're doing a great job. I couldn't do what you do. It's about as good as I can get because like my skill set is kind of narrow. Like I know how to paint, and that's about it.
Awesome. Well, yeah, this has been an amazing stream. Thank you so much for coming on.
Well,
Uh,
thank you for having me. It's an honor to be able to be on here and like chat with you and be able to like meet the community.
Absolutely. Thank you to everyone who was asking questions, hang out in the chat. We had a great time getting to everyone. Obviously, made awesome progress in this painting. I hope, yeah, and I wish you the best of
Oh
luck
yeah,
with
this is
this.
great. I'm like pretty far along in this painting now. I get these claws cleaned up, a little bit of work on these like the head or whatever, and like I've got a one of my spot illustrations is done in a day. It's so good for me.
Awesome.
Thank you for giving me time to sit here and concentrate on it.
Totally, man. Yeah, best luck with your RPG. I will definitely be checking out that book once it comes out. And yeah, have an amazing rest.